The 5th year of my betrothal to Ethan Langston, heir to the powerful Langston family, he performed the marriage ceremony with Lily before my very eyes. His voice was cold as winter frost. "You will be the only lady of this house." I removed my jade pendant and placed it upon their ceremonial table. "Our engagement is ended. We are nothing to each other now." He believed I would come crawling back, as I always had. When we met by chance at the tea house, he mocked my petulance, yet his gaze lingered on the crimson mark upon my neck, his face draining of all color. He blocked my carriage in the street like a madman. But when the curtain lifted, it revealed Prince Adrian's impassive countenance within. After suffering grievous injury, Ethan's voice turned to a ragged howl. It was Adrian who orchestrated my downfall. The prince merely replied with chilling calm. "You chose this path yourself." In the end, Ethan crawled on his knees through the cobblestone streets, his forehead striking stone with each prostration, blood trailing behind him. "Vivian, I was wrong." The warmth of the private chamber was broken only by flickering candlelight. Zachary, Lucas, and the other young lords clapped their hands in revelry. "Bow, quickly now. Husband and wife must bow." Lily wore an ill-fitting wedding gown, her cheeks flushed crimson. Ethan, resplendent in red silk, smiled as he steadied her shoulders. Together, they bent in ceremonial reverence. I stood silently in the doorway. The maid who had led me here had vanished like morning mist. Zachary spotted me first, his wine cup clattering to the floor as his complexion turned ashen. Miss Vivian." The chamber fell into deathly silence. Every eye turned toward me. Ethan straightened, and upon seeing me, something flickered across his brow. With practiced ease, he drew Lily closer to his side. I stepped across the threshold. Lily cowered behind Ethan's broad form, her fingers clutching desperately at his sleeve. He patted her trembling hand with gentle reassurance, then fixed me with an easy smile. "Vivian, however, did you find this place?" Lily was merely playing at ceremonies, nothing more than childish games. He paused, his tone taking on a patronizing quality. "Without the proper scrolls and ceremonies, such things hold no meaning. You've always been gracious about these trifles." I offered no response. Instead, I unfastened the white jade pendant from my waist and approached their red silk-draped table, placing it before them with deliberate precision. "Since the young master has found someone with whom he wishes to perform ceremonies, Vivian shall not stand in the way. Our family's engagement ends this day." Ethan lifted the jade pendant, tossing it lightly in his palm before chuckling. "Even bringing out this old thing. Your temper certainly runs deep this time." He seemed genuinely amused by what he perceived as theatrical petulance. "Vivian," his smile faded as his voice hardened. "Repeat those words for me." I met his gaze steadily, taking in him. Lily nestled in his embrace, and the chamber draped entirely in celebratory red. "Our engagement is ended. We are nothing to each other now." With those words, I turned and departed. Behind me drifted Ethan's dismissive voice. "Let her go. She'll return within 3 days, mark my words." After the guests departed the chamber, only Ethan, Zachary, Lucas, and Lily remained. Zachary wrung his hands nervously, his unease palpable. "Ethan, shouldn't you pursue Miss Vivian? This matter seems rather serious." His voice carried genuine concern. Ethan remained seated, absently stroking the jade pendant with calculated indifference. "Pursue her. I know her temperament better than anyone. How many times has she thrown such tantrums, only to return of her own accord?" Lily tugged delicately at Ethan's sleeve, her voice barely above a whisper. "Young master, This pendant is truly beautiful. Might I examine it more closely? I bypassed the Caldwell estate entirely, directing my carriage to the familiar tea house instead. In my private chamber, I ordered a pot of pear blossom wine. By the time Elena arrived, the small vessel lay empty, and I sat gazing out the window in contemplation. How much have you consumed? Elena removed the empty pot with practiced concern. Is this about Ethan again? He performed a marriage ceremony today. A ceremony? Elena's voice rose sharply. Has Ethan lost his mind completely? Your engagement remains in effect. With whom, that lily creature? I nodded and recounted the events at the chamber. Elena listened with mounting indignation, her chest rising and falling with barely contained fury. That wretch. You should have severed ties with him long ago. 5 years of tolerance is more than enough. She leaned closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. Mother has been discussing several promising young gentlemen with other ladies over tea. Excellent family backgrounds and pleasing appearances. Shall I gather their calling cards for your review? I rubbed my temples wearily. I need fresh air. The tea house's rear courtyard featured a small bamboo grove, peaceful in the evening stillness. I leaned against a pavilion pillar, wine still coursing through my veins. A figure stood motionless in the shadows among the bamboo, a tall form clad in dark brocade. It was Prince Adrian. He seemed to sense my observation, turning slightly, so our eyes met across the darkness. I approached, stopping several paces away. Does your highness also come here to clear wine's effects? My voice emerged hoarse from the evening's indulgences. He remained silent, simply studying me with those penetrating dark eyes. After a long moment he spoke. Miss Vivian's tolerance for wine appears adequate. Not as steady as your highness's restraint. The corner of his mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. Occasionally. The night air grew colder. My thin garments provided little protection, and I wrapped my arms around myself. He observed this quietly, then unfastened his dark cloak and draped it around my shoulders. Night dew grows heavy, he said simply, turning as if to depart. Your Highness, I called to him, drawing his warm cloak tighter and meeting those unfathomable dark eyes directly. Does your residence keep sobering remedies? His steps halted. He studied me in the moonlight. One half of his face illuminated, revealing sharp, aristocratic features. After several heartbeats, his voice emerged low and measured. It does. I awoke in the prince's private villa as dawn approached. The space beside me lay empty, yet the bedding bore impressions and retained residual warmth. My sleeping gown was new silk, not my measurements. Memory came in fragments, the study's sandalwood incense, the coolness of his jade ornament at his waist, the pale scar beneath his collarbone revealed when he loosened his robes. I remembered my own loss of composure, marking his shoulder with my teeth. Light footsteps approached the door. A maid waited outside with brass basin and heated water, eyes downcast with practiced discretion. The prince's carriage returned me to the Caldwell estate before sunrise. Exhaustion overwhelmed me the moment my head touched the pillow. I awoke to voices beyond my chamber door, my maid, Jade, speaking in hushed tones. Miss has not yet risen. Perhaps the young master might. I'll wait for her. Ethan's voice carried clearly through the wooden barrier. I sighed. Knowing avoidance was impossible, supporting myself wearily, I donned an outer robe over my sleeping clothes, leaving my hair unbound, and entered the sitting room. Ethan sat at the table examining a brocade box. Upon seeing me emerge, his gaze swept my face, his brow furrowing slightly before he smiled. Truly ill. He set down the box. Yesterday's events, I understand now. You went to my mother, didn't you? Spoke unfavorably about Lily. I paused mid-reach for my cold tea. Why would I visit your mother? Still pretending. His smile held weary patience. Who else would it be? After yesterday's scene upset you, you sought mother out to complain and cause Lily difficulties. Vivian, such behavior hardly seems magnanimous. So this was his assumption. Lily must have fabricated some tale upon returning home, or perhaps her family's unsuccessful appeal to the Langston estate prompted them to blame me for their troubles. And he believed them. I remained at home yesterday evening without leaving the estate. Your lordship may investigate if you doubt me. My voice emerged hoarse. Ethan noticed immediately. His expression shifted, then his smile deepened. Listen to that voice. He shook his head. However angry you felt, why punish yourself so? Weeping the entire night over Lily's trivial antics. Is it truly worth such torment? I set down my cup. If you have no other business, please depart. I require rest. Rather than taking offense at my coldness, he appeared increasingly confident. Rising, he adjusted his sleeves with deliberate ceremony. Very well. Since you feel unwell, rest properly. He placed the brocade box on the table. These are new birds' nests from the treasury, excellent for the lungs. Stop tormenting yourself with wild imaginings. He regarded me with the indulgent look one might give a petulant child. Then departed. 2 days later, Ethan met Zachary and Lucas at the tea-house's private chambers. Zachary observed his complexion carefully before venturing. How fares Miss Vivian's health? What was her condition when you visited? Ethan sipped his tea with affected nonchalance. What condition could it be, heartache? She barely spoke when I called, her voice completely hoarse. Lucas immediately interjected. Certainly from yesterday's chamber incident, that anger hasn't dissipated. Combined with your elaborate celebration for Miss Lily, her fury has likely doubled. Let her rage. Ethan set down his cup with supreme confidence. She always behaves thus, appearing defiant while desperately clinging. This outburst stems from believing I truly intended to marry Lily. She is simply frightened. His satisfaction was evident as earlier irritation evaporated. Let her sulk. After a few days of cooling, she'll naturally return. After another 2 days, Prince Adrian sent word that the plum blossoms at his western mountain villa had bloomed, inviting me to view them. I accepted his invitation. He stood among the plum grove, draped in his dark cloak. Upon my arrival, he eschewed pleasantries, speaking directly. The palace whispers that His Majesty contemplates new salt tax policies, and opportunity approaches. I nodded. The Caldwell family has prepared comprehensive proposals. Proposals alone prove insufficient. He turned to face me, his gaze steady and penetrating. Should His Majesty inquire who might implement such policies, upon what foundation does the Caldwell family stand? I remained silent. Recognizing this as our family's current weakness, I suggested to His Majesty, his tone remained level, that I seek to marry the Caldwell family's eldest daughter. He neither approved nor refused, but instructed me to consider carefully. My heart stirred as I met his gaze. Marriage between us represents the most secure arrangement presently available. Your family gains protection, while I acquire valuable allies. His Majesty's intentions remain within my understanding. Are you willing? Wind scattered several plum petals around us. I recalled Ethan's insufferable presumption. Does your Highness speak in earnest about this alliance? I inquired. My word is absolute, came his concise reply. Very well, I answered without hesitation. I am willing. He showed no surprise, merely nodding once. Then it is settled. During this period, should difficulties arise, send word to the villa. Ignore any idle gossip that may circulate. I understand. Following our conversation in the plum grove, several days passed without Prince Adrian's appearance. However, the villa's steward treated me with increasing deference. One morning, the steward's wife reported that His Highness suggested I might prefer the warmer hot springs estate in the countryside, inquiring if I wished to relocate temporarily. I understood his meaning. News of our potential alliance, however carefully guarded, would inevitably leak. Temporary withdrawal before Ethan could act and matters were finalized seemed prudent. Excellent. Please make arrangements. Preparations proved simple. Before departure, Elena somehow learned of the move and rushed to bid farewell. She grasped my hands, beaming with delight. The countryside estate sounds perfect, so peaceful. You cannot imagine Ethan's behavior in your absence. He has been searching frantically like a lost soul, even approaching my household for information. Mother turned him away. I heard him boasting at taverns that your anger simply ran too deep, that you are— He claims once he appeases Lily, he'll naturally find methods to retrieve you. I listened without emotional response. Let him say what he pleases. Boarding the carriage, I added, take care of yourself in the capital. Understood. Enjoy your hot springs. Elena waved enthusiastically. The carriage departed, leaving the capital's walls and all its complications behind. Life at the hot springs estate passed peacefully. I spent days reading and soaking in the thermal pools, enjoying rare tranquility. This changed one afternoon when the estate manager approached with evident discomfort, followed by two matrons from the Caldwell household. Miss, the family matriarch requests your opinion on a matter. The senior matron, Mrs. Zhang, presented a catalogue after performing proper courtesies. The Langston estate has repeatedly sent representatives these past days, delivering samples of wedding necessities for your selection. The matriarch feels you should personally decide such matters. I examined the catalogue containing exquisite fabrics, jewelry, and household items. Several calling cards from the capital's finest establishments were tucked inside. The matriarch also mentioned, Mrs. Liu added with a peculiar expression, that the Langston estate inquired about renovation preferences for the Southern District Villa, intended as your new residence. They wish to know whether you favor Southern garden styling or Northern palatial grandeur. I closed the catalogue, setting it aside. Return everything. Inform them that the Caldwell family dares not accept such generous gifts, nor do we intend to discuss these matters. Tell grandmother not to trouble herself over this. Should Langston representatives call again, refuse them directly. Both matrons exchanged glances with visible relief. Yes, miss. After their departure, I gazed at the mountain snow beyond my window, slowly processing the intrusion upon my peaceful retreat. The estate's serenity lasted mere days before correspondence arrived from the Caldwell household, a thick packet demanding urgent delivery. The messenger reported that Langston estate representatives had personally delivered it, insisting it reach my hands immediately. I opened Ethan's letter, written in his familiar hand across densely packed pages. It began, by the time you read this, your anger should have cooled sufficiently. After days away from home, surely you've indulged your tantrum long enough. Continuing through his missive proved increasingly absurd. I acknowledge your displeasure over that hasty ceremony. Feeling your dignity was slighted. Very well, I accept responsibility. Once you return, we'll pretend nothing happened. I'll remarry you properly, opening the ancestral hall, honoring our forefathers, with every ceremony intact. Let all the capital witness you entering the Langston household through the main gate in an 8-bearer wedding chair, as the legitimate heir's wife. Surely this satisfies you, he even promised. A new Eastern District estate surpasses the Southern property in scenery. If you prefer it, we'll celebrate there instead. Choose the finest garments and jewels, demand whatever you wish. The final lines killed my remaining amusement, replacing it with disgust. This is my final concession. Vivian. Don't mistake wine for punishment. 3 days. If you don't return within 3 days, even your pleading won't move me later. I stared at his ultimatum, easily imagining his smug expression as he penned these arrogant words. Taking up my brush, I replied on blank paper. I want nothing of your generous gifts. You and I share no connection. Stop seeking me. Show some dignity. I folded my response, instructing the estate manager. Return this to the household for delivery to the messenger. Henceforth, burn any correspondence from the Langston estate without presenting it to me. The manager departed as instructed. I approached the window, exhaling deeply. After approximately 2 weeks at the mountain estate, word arrived from the capital that the Empress Dowager had fallen ill, requiring Prince Adrian's return to attend her. I accompanied his entourage back to the city. After settling at home for 2 days, Elena burst in with dramatic urgency. Upon entering, she immediately drained a cup of cold tea before gasping breathlessly and whispering, "My ancestor, you've finally returned. Do you realize what that wretch Ethan accomplished in your absence?" I sat before my mirror, adjusting my collar to better conceal a faint mark on my neck. Without pausing, I asked, "What has he done now?" "He has lost his mind completely." Elena pressed close to my ear, speaking rapidly. "Remember Lily's recent birthday? He rented the 3 finest floors of the drunken immortal pavilion for her celebration. That is not all. He somehow procured a southern theatrical troupe for 3 days of continuous performances. The banquet flowed from the building onto the streets, ensuring everyone knew of his extravagant devotion to his beloved. Now the entire capital gossips about the Langston heir's lavish expenditure for a beauty's smile. Her anger intensified. Clearly he is trying to humiliate you. This display was meant for your eyes. I fastened my collar and turned to face her. Expression unchanged. Indeed. Elena stared in disbelief. Just indeed. You are not furious. What concern is it of mine? I took up my comb, slowly arranging my hair. His birthday celebrations and expenditures are his affairs. I am now Prince Adrian's intended bride. His household will address any concerns about Ethan's behavior. Elena paused momentarily, then clapped delightedly. Yes. I was confused. You are the future princess consort now, completely disconnected from the Langston family. Let him exhaust his family fortune. After laughing, she recalled something else, leaning in conspiratorially. However, I heard that while the birthday celebration proved spectacular, within days imperial censors submitted reports criticizing his excessive indulgence and improper behavior. The accusations reached His Majesty's attention, and the Langston family apparently suffered consequences. I paused briefly in my grooming but said nothing. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating my dressing table brilliantly, as Elena continued sharing capital gossip, her attention fixed on an understated black lacquer box I'd not owned previously. How curious. I've never seen this box before. It doesn't match your usual possessions. Her curiosity was evident. Following her gaze, I paused before responding naturally. Oh, Prince Adrian's household sent it recently. A gift for you. Elena's eyes lit up as she moved to open it. What treasure lies within? Let me see. I didn't restrain her. She lifted the lid, revealing not gold, silver, or precious stones, but a black iron command token bearing a sharply engraved character for Adrian, alongside a small personal seal carved with his name. Elena gasped sharply, staring at me with transformed expression. This This is Prince Adrian's personal command token and seal. He gave these to you? Yes. I nodded casually. He explained that should I encounter urgent matters or difficulties in the capital, these tokens allow me to mobilize certain palace guards or directly contact his trusted officials. The seal permits handling routine correspondence. Elena's mouth remained agape, alternating between examining the tokens and me. He simply gave them to you. After such brief acquaintance, you've barely. I understood her implication. Our relationship began as mutual convenience, lacking deep emotional foundation. Perhaps he finds me reasonably trustworthy? I smiled, closing the box. He spoke of our alliance requiring mutual faith. Elena remained silent for some time before exhaling deeply, regarding me with complex emotions. Vivian, I am astounded. In 5 years of engagement to Ethan, what did he ever give you? Beyond frivolous jewelry and clothing, did he ever offer genuine support or trust? Prince Adrian accomplished in mere days what? She paused, dismissing the thought. No point discussing that disappointment. Her expression brightened as she grasped my hands. This is wonderful news. I must celebrate properly. Tonight at First Fragrance Restaurant, my invitation, and we're drinking until dawn. I smiled at her enthusiasm. Agreed. In First Fragrance's private chambers, Elena drank rather heavily, chattering incessantly. Her noise gave me a headache, prompting me to step outside for air. At the corridor's turn, I nearly collided with someone. Looking up, I recognized Zachary. Upon seeing me, he initially froze before forcing a warm smile. Miss Vivian, what a delightful coincidence. You are dining here as well. Young Master Ethan and friends are gathered in the adjacent moonlit chamber. Perhaps you'd join us. He'd be absolutely thrilled to see you. I frowned, stepping back with obvious coolness. Master Zachary jests. I maintain no connection with young Master Ethan, making such intrusion inappropriate. Farewell. I turned toward my original chamber, but Zachary seemed reluctant to abandon his mission, following 2 steps behind while lowering his voice persuasively. Miss Vivian, why maintain such distance? Young Master Ethan's heart belongs to you. He mentioned it recently. Miss Lily represents mere temporary novelty. Simply offer him dignity, exchange a few conciliatory words, and these troubles will vanish. I continued walking, ignoring his appeals. To reach our snow-listening chamber required passing the moonlit chamber's entrance. The door stood slightly ajar, revealing silk music and laughter within. I glimpsed Ethan reclining on cushions, robes loosened, while Lily nestled against him, offering grapes to his lips. He accepted her ministrations without resistance, smiling with evident pleasure. I averted my gaze and proceeded directly to snow-listening chamber. As Elena and I prepared to depart after settling her inebriation, the moonlit chamber's door opened. Ethan emerged with Zachary, Lucas, and their party, apparently concluding their own festivities. An unavoidable encounter occurred in the corridor. Ethan noticed me, his steps faltering as his gaze swept my face. Then my arms supporting Elena, finally settling on my carefully secured collar. His expression remained neutral, yet something profound shifted in his eyes. Zachary quickly attempted social pleasantries. What fortune, Miss Vivian dines here as well. Is this Miss Elena? Has she overindulged? Shall we escort you home? Unnecessary. My refusal came swiftly. Instructing my maid to support Elena properly, Lucas interjected tentatively. Miss Vivian seems quite busy lately. Difficult even to arrange meetings. Our Ethan has mentioned you repeatedly, saying you are certainly maintaining this lengthy silent treatment. Ethan said nothing, merely observing me with that slight smile, seemingly confirming Lucas's words. Lily lingered behind him, glancing at me timidly before addressing Ethan softly. "Young master." "Sister Vivian appears displeased with our presence. Is my being here causing her discomfort? Perhaps I should return home." Ethan patted her hand gently. "No matter." He then faced me directly, still maintaining this sulk. "After your extended retreat, it is time to return home. Continuing to reside elsewhere reflects poorly." His tone suggested I was merely indulging in theatrical rebellion. Zachary added supportively. "Indeed, Miss Vivian. Ethan has spoken. Let bygones be bygones. Look. Miss Lily stands here as well. Once everyone speaks openly, perhaps the future might." "Master Zachary," I interrupted, meeting each face calmly before settling on Ethan. "You misunderstand completely. I harbor no anger requiring dissipation. Where I reside, and with whom I associate concerns none of you." I moved past them without further acknowledgement, supporting Elena. As we brushed past, Elena's inebriation caused her to stumble slightly, jostling my arm. I instinctively reached for the corridor railing to steady myself. This movement loosened my carefully arranged collar, exposing the faint crimson mark I'd attempted to conceal beneath the bright corridor lanterns. Silence crystallized for a heartbeat. Lucas noticed first, uttering a surprised sound. Zachary followed his gaze, his complexion changing as he looked uncertainly toward Ethan. Ethan's focus locked onto my neck. The casual confidence and controlled demeanor vanished instantly, replaced by piercing intensity as he stared at that revealing mark. Lily also observed, gasping softly behind her hand, eyes wide as she looked between Ethan and me. I steadied myself and calmly readjusted my collar, smoothing the fabric. "Finished staring?" I asked coldly. "Elena requires assistance. I bid you farewell." Zachary and Lucas exchanged uncertain glances, holding their breath. Lily cowered behind Ethan. Ethan continued, staring with terrible intensity, his complexion ghastly, lips compressed into a rigid line. I felt his gaze like an icy blade following me, until I disappeared around the corner. I had barely escorted Elena to the main floor when hurried. Heavy footsteps thundered down the staircase behind us. Ethan reached me in several strides, seizing my wrist with painful force. His eyes blazed red with fury, breathing labored as he stared at me. "I'll ask once more, where did that mark come from?" Curious gazes gathered around us. His grip caused genuine pain, igniting my own suppressed anger. I met his enraged stare. "Release me." Rather than complying, he tightened his grip. "You won't answer. Fine. I'll investigate personally. Once I discover who did this, I'll—" "What will you do?" I interrupted, struggling unsuccessfully to free my wrist. "Ethan, have you forgotten? We dissolved our engagement and owe each other nothing. My associations and circumstances are none of your concern." The phrase, "my associations," struck him like physical blows. Veins pulsed at his temples as he dragged me closer, his lowered voice seething with rage. "Vivian, you were my betrothed woman. Engagement dissolved or not requires my consent. How dare you allow another man to touch you?" His logic was breathtakingly absurd. Regarding his fury, twisted features, I felt unprecedented exhaustion and revulsion. "Your consent," I smiled coldly, utterly without warmth. "Ethan, you overestimate yourself tremendously. My choices require no one's permission. Not previously, and certainly not now." I wrenched free during his momentary shock, leaving obvious red welts on my wrist. Let this be stated publicly. I stepped back, creating distance while speaking clearly enough for nearby eavesdroppers to hear. From our engagement's dissolution, Ethan Langston and I severed all connections permanently. Whether you marry Lily or any other woman is immaterial to me. Similarly, my fate, life or death, honor or disgrace, no longer concerns you. Kindly forget we ever knew each other. I refused to observe his face cycling between ashen pallor and furious crimson, instead supporting the bewildered Elena and departing the establishment. Behind us, deathly silence reigned, until we'd traveled considerable distance, when what sounded like something being violently shattered reached our ears. Inside the carriage, Elena's wine-induced stupor cleared somewhat in the breeze. Peering anxiously through the window, she muttered, "Merciful heavens." Ethan's expression suggested he wanted to devour you alive. "Are you injured, Vivian?" "I am fine." I rubbed my aching wrist, examining the clear finger impressions. Yet strangely, I felt profound calm, almost relief at finally casting off a burdensome weight. Elena studied my serene profile, gradually regaining composure. "You are right, not to waste anger on such a person. But will he cause further trouble? After today's public scene, should he retain any dignity, he won't dare approach me soon." My voice carried quiet confidence. After delivering Elena home, I returned to the Caldwell estate as evening deepened. Several peaceful days followed. During my regular attendance upon Mother, she appeared troubled, taking my hand with gentle concern. "Daughter, have you heard any gossip recently?" "Regarding what matter, Mother?" She sighed softly. Unknown sources spread tales about that Lily girl. Apparently, she attended Minister Chen's garden party recently, where your name arose in conversation. Rather than speaking ill, she grew tearful, claiming Sister Vivian must deeply resent her, that without her interference, you and the young master wouldn't have reached this unfortunate state. She portrayed herself as pitifully caught between conflicting loyalties, while the young master offered comfort during her distress. These words, spreading through repetition, painted you as jealously intolerant, while casting her as a wronged innocent. I nearly laughed aloud. Lily's methods remained consistently crude. Mother needn't concern herself with such nonsense. I patted her hand reassuringly. Let her speak freely. Yet privately, I knew this matter couldn't be ignored. 2 days hence, several prominent ladies hosted a tea gathering with invitations, extended to me. Such occasions would certainly attract Lily's eager participation. Before attending, I visited Prince Adrian's villa. I found him in his study. Upon my arrival, he set down his brush. "What brings you here?" "I wish to discuss Minister Zhang's wife's upcoming tea party." "Is your Highness aware of this event?" "I've heard mention." He studied me, indicating I should continue. "I request your Highness's assistance with a small matter." My tone remained casual. "The guest list includes one Lily, daughter of Censor Lin's family. I prefer not encountering her at such gatherings. Might your Highness suggest Minister Zhang's wife reconsider her invitation?" Prince Adrian understood immediately. He observed me without expression, asking simply, "For this reason alone?" "For this reason alone." I nodded. "She is insufferably noisy, and I have no desire to see her or endure her inappropriate remarks." Prince Adrian pondered silently, tapping the table once with his fingertip. "Very well." His agreement came readily. "A trivial matter." He summoned a steward, issuing quiet instructions. The man departed on his mission. 2 days later, the tea gathering proceeded as scheduled. I sat quietly among the elegantly dressed ladies, sipping tea peacefully. Throughout the entire event, Lily remained conspicuously absent, one lady remarked casually. Curious, wasn't the Lin family's daughter expected to attend? I don't see her anywhere. Another smiled knowingly, her voice carrying just far enough for surrounding guests to hear. Some last-minute issue, perhaps. Minister Zhang's wife maintains such strict standards. Clearly, certain individuals simply don't suit such occasions. Understanding passed wordlessly among the gathering, as conversation shifted to other topics. Jade later informed me privately that Lily had dressed elaborately that morning, anticipating her invitation, only to wait in vain for escort that never came. Apparently, she threw a considerable tantrum at home afterward. I merely acknowledged this news with a quiet, at the suburban horse grounds, beneath the covered pavilion. Ethan returned from riding in a sweat-soaked state, yet the inexplicable restlessness within him persisted. Zachary and Lucas huddled in whispered conversation nearby, falling silent with uncomfortable expressions upon his approach. What secrets are you sharing so mysteriously? Ethan settled down, drinking deeply from his water flask. Lucas and Zachary exchanged meaningful glances. Zachary leaned forward conspiratorially. Ethan, we heard something rather suspicious. Minister Zhang's wife recently hosted a tea gathering with invitations sent to the Lin family. Indeed. Ethan showed little interest. Yet Miss Lily never attended. Lucas continued. Lowering his voice further, invitations were delivered, but the day before the gathering, Minister Zhang's personal matron visited the Lin household specifically to retrieve them. Ethan's hand stilled while removing his protective gear, meeting Lucas's gaze. Retrieved them. What reason was given? Very polite language, but the meaning was clear. Zachary clicked his tongue. They claimed insufficient consideration, citing potential inconvenience, and requested Miss Lily attend future events instead. Isn't this blatant humiliation? Minister Zhang's wife never offends anyone and maintains perfect diplomacy. What prompted this unprecedented action? Ethan's brow furrowed. This indeed contradicted Minister Zhang's wife's typical behavior, he asked instinctively. Did the Lin family offend the Zhang household? No reports of such conflicts. Lucas shook his head. Even if tensions existed, Minister Zhang's wife would simply exclude them from future invitations, rather than retrieving already delivered ones. What magnitude of animosity would justify this? Silence fell within the pavilion. Ethan's mind raced through possible explanations, until one name involuntarily surfaced: Vivian. Was it her? Ethan's voice emerged hoarse uncertainty, evident despite himself. Zachary remained silent, tacitly confirming the suspicion. Lucas scratched his head in confusion. But Miss Vivian, how could she influence Minister Zhang's wife? The Caldwell family's current standing hardly seems sufficient for such. This appears rather. Ethan's mind completed Lucas's unspoken observation. Previously, when Vivian felt wronged, her responses involved retreating to her chambers, or seeking resolution through family elders. When had she employed such direct, almost ruthless tactics? He stared at his clenched fists on the stone table, suddenly realizing the woman he believed he thoroughly understood, even somewhat dismissed, might prove far more complex than he'd imagined. Ethan, Zachary called. Noting his pale complexion, Ethan startled back to awareness, releasing his grip and drinking cold tea in large gulps. He attempted a dismissive expression, finding the effort somewhat forced. Let her act as she pleases. His gaze drifted toward distant horizons. Silence returned to the pavilion, broken only by wind and occasional horse snorts. After considerable time, Ethan asked with studied casualness, Vivian, what has she been doing lately? still at the country estate? Zachary and Lucas exchanged glances, recognizing mutual confusion and dawning understanding. Zachary replied quietly, "Uncertain. She apparently returned to the city but rarely ventures out." Ethan acknowledged this with a non-committal sound. In Prince Adrian's study, lamplight burned steadily while maintaining perfect quiet. The prince conducted business in the outer chamber as I perused local chronicles in the inner room. A small table beside me held a plate of tribute lychees, ice-chilled and refreshingly sweet. Window sounds announced the arrival of Elena's messenger pigeon, a snow-white bird that entered familiarly, bearing a tiny bamboo tube. Elena's characteristically crooked handwriting filled the unrolled paper. Vivian, critical intelligence. My brother's aristocratic friends are privately wagering on Prince Adrian's lifelong bachelorhood, speculating whether he suffers physical ailments or harbors secret affections. Odds have reached 10-1. You are currently the prime suspect, and inside source. Reveal some secrets quickly. I nearly choked on my tea, simultaneously annoyed and amused. As I moved to discard the note, voices from the outer chamber ceased. Footsteps approached the inner room. I instinctively attempted hiding the paper when Prince Adrian parted the pearl curtains and entered. His gaze swept my slightly panicked hands and the exposed note before he approached directly, bending slightly forward. "What are you reading?" he inquired, attention settling on the paper. Nothing important." I tried concealing the note behind my back. He extended his hand, fingertips delicately grasping the paper's corner. I dared not resist, allowing it to transfer to his possession. He lowered his eyes, scanning the small characters briefly. The study fell silent except for occasional lamp wick crackling. After a moment, he met my gaze, something unreadable flickering in those dark depths before his lips curved almost imperceptibly. Baseless rumors. He placed the paper casually on the small table, tone remaining level, then selected a lychee, methodically peeling away its shell. The crystalline fruit appeared at my lips. "Taste this fresh from the southern regions." I observed his nearby face and the pale fruit at his fingertips, my heartbeat skipping unexpectedly. Prince Adrian's question, "Any concerns?" hung in the air as my scroll tumbled onto the cushions. He made no move to retrieve it, simply watching me with those penetrating dark eyes. The chamber grew extraordinarily quiet. I remained speechless, heat flooding my cheeks. He laughed softly, not his usual cold amusement, but something warmer, more meaningful. Then he leaned down and kissed me. Initially gentle pressure, warm and carrying his distinctive crisp pine scent. I didn't retreat, interpreting this as consent. He deepened the kiss, applying pressure that left me breathless. His arm circled my waist, drawing me inexorably closer. Somehow we found ourselves in the inner bedchamber. The sequence blurred in memory. I recalled only the falling curtains dimming the light, his intensified breathing, kisses trailing along my neck and collarbone, then lower. His touch burned even through fabric, conveying irresistible command. I couldn't suppress a soft sound, causing him to pause and regard me in the darkness, his breath hot against my ear. "Now," his voice emerged, husky. "Do you still harbor doubts?" I couldn't respond, my fingers unconsciously grasping the loosened fabric at his collar, feeling taut muscle beneath and that slightly raised scar. I lowered my head, gently marking that scar with my teeth. He groaned quietly before kissing me with renewed intensity. When it ended, exhaustion rendered me motionless. He held me close, rhythmically stroking my back as rain began pattering against the windows. As drowsiness overtook me in his embrace, I hazily reflected that Elena's wild theories were complete nonsense. One warm spring afternoon, I traveled in a small blue-curtained carriage from Prince Adrian's villa toward the Caldwell estate. Nearing a quiet intersection close to home, our progress slowed unexpectedly. I lifted the side curtain to investigate the delay, only to meet a pair of brightened yet startlingly intense eyes. Ethan had emerged from some drinking establishment, his brocade robes wrinkled and cap askew, carrying a nearly empty wine flask while blocking our path alone. Upon seeing me, he initially appeared stunned before his expression turned impatient. He approached in large strides, raising his hand to strike the carriage shaft. "Vivian, I knew it was you." Seeing me and still refusing to stop. "Come down," our coachman, a member of Prince Adrian's household, sternly commanded. "Who dares block this carriage? You frighten the noble passenger. Withdraw immediately." Ethan ignored him completely, fixated on my exposed curtain, brows tightly knit. "I summoned you to descend. Do you hear me? I've had too much wine and feel dizzy. Support me home." His tone suggested he was addressing a household servant. I prepared to lower the curtain when the carriage interior darkened. Prince Adrian, who had been resting with closed eyes, now sat upright. He reached across me to fully part the curtain, revealing our carriage's interior. He sat beside me in ordinary dark robes, posture relaxed, gaze falling indifferently upon the frozen Ethan outside. Ethan's drunken irritation and confident presumption crystallized instantly upon seeing Prince Adrian. His pupils contracted sharply, mouth falling open as his raised wine flask remained suspended mid-air. Prince Adrian remained silent, simply observing him with calm, naturally intimidating composure. Ethan's face rapidly reddened. Too intoxicated to recognize Prince Adrian, he raged. "Who dares occupy this carriage? Vivian, how could you?" "Ethan, stand aside." I finally spoke, voice hard as steel. I demand to know his identity. He seemed oblivious, attempting to grab the carriage shaft. The two guards flanking our carriage moved instantly, swords remaining sheathed, but their swift positioning effectively blocked Ethan's approach. One guard spoke sternly. "This is a noble's carriage. No interference permitted. Withdraw." Ethan's anger intensified when confronted by clearly trained, coldly professional guards whose sword fittings bore unusual institutional markings. He gradually realized this was no ordinary passenger. His fury slowly transformed into uncertain suspicion, yet he remained defiant, pointing at our carriage while shouting, "Vivian, you've outdone yourself, finding someone to oppose me? You imagine this will enable you to?" "Ethan," Prince Adrian finally spoke, his voice quiet yet clearly interrupting Ethan's tirade. He didn't even glance at Ethan again, merely instructing the driver. "Proceed." "Yes, sir." Coachman and guards responded in unison, giving Ethan no further opportunity for entanglement. Our carriage moved steadily forward, navigating around his rigid form. I lowered the curtain, blocking his penetrating stare. Complete silence filled our carriage. When intoxicated, "Does he always behave thus?" Prince Adrian's voice came from beside me, revealing neither approval nor disapproval. "Consistently so." I closed my eyes, massaging my temples. I felt only weariness and persistent, inescapable humiliation. Our carriage proceeded smoothly, leaving that unpleasant incident behind. Yet I knew Ethan's temperament too well. This matter wouldn't end here. Indeed, the following noon Elena arrived ashen, faced grasping my hands with trembling urgency. "Vivian. Disaster strikes. Ethan last night at Drunken Immortal Pavilion. He drank until midnight, alternately weeping and cursing, speaking countless shameful words. Zachary and his friends barely restrained him before escorting him home. But before dawn today, he apparently lost his mind completely, riding alone from the city gates, claiming claiming he intended confronting you for explanations. His horse startled on the official road somehow, throwing him against roadside hitching stones. They say he bled terribly. When carried home, he was unconscious. The physician remains at Langston Estate. Elena caught her breath before continuing. Zachary secretly told my brother that Ethan kept muttering last night about the man in your carriage being someone you'd enlisted to spite him. Some blind fool he'd definitely identify. He insisted you were merely acting out, that once he recovered, he'd find methods to make you obediently return. He never truly believed you'd actually chosen another. So that was it. Until his moment of catastrophic injury, Ethan stubbornly maintained that everything I'd done, including sharing Prince Adrian's carriage, was designed solely to anger him. What did the physician say? I inquired. Grievously injured. His arm broke. Ribs apparently fractured. But most frightening was his head. Bleeding badly. Remaining unconscious. The Langston household is in chaos. His mother fainting repeatedly. I remained silent for considerable time, draining my cold tea. The momentary sympathy stirred by hearing of his condition gradually yielded to deeper absurdity. I understand. These 3 words were all I managed. After 5 days unconscious, Ethan barely survived, though severely injured and requiring extended bed rest. His once robust frame had withered alarmingly. Whispers of imperial marriage approval circulated in elevated circles. Though perhaps due to Ethan's critical condition, the Langston family's petition delayed official announcement. Today, I was reviewing preliminary gift lists from Prince Adrian's household when Jade entered carrying a palm-sized flat box, her expression complex. Miss, the Langston estate sent another delivery. An elderly matron from young Master Ethan's personal staff knelt at our side gate, kowtowing repeatedly. She claimed the young master regained consciousness briefly yesterday, refusing food and water, repeatedly expressing his need to see you personally, with urgent words. If you don't visit, he'll refuse treatment entirely. This box must reach your hands directly, his absolute command. I opened the brocade container. Inside lay no letter, only a red gold dragonfly hairpin, adorned with kingfisher feathers, its wings delicate as gossamer. This was a coming-of-age gift he'd presented on my 14th birthday. I had worn it several times before finding it too ostentatious for regular use. I'd forgotten he remembered it. Beneath the pin lay a small piece of plain silk bearing tremulous writing, possibly inscribed with medicine or other liquid. Past treasures remain unchanged. Does the heart? One meeting. One word. Please show mercy. Examining that hairpin and pathetic message, I felt oppressive anger building in my chest. Even at this desperate juncture, lying injured and bedridden, he employed such manipulative methods, using shared memories, appealing for pity, threatening self-destruction, to attempt emotional blackmail. I replaced the hairpin and closed the box. Take this, I instructed Jade calmly. Break it before that matron's eyes and discard the pieces. Inform her that her young master's life or death concerns the Langston estate and their physicians. It is irrelevant to Vivian Caldwell. If he lacks the will to live, no one can save him. Advise him to focus on recovery, rather than these pathetic, laughable actions that pain his loved ones. The Caldwell gates won't reopen for him. Should he continue these disturbances, my response will be harsher than discarding trinkets. Jade, noting my icy demeanor, dared not delay, hurrying away with the box. I approached the window, pushing it open to breathe deeply of the cool late spring air. He would never understand that some things, once broken, remain broken forever. Tainted relics, however gilded, only inspire revulsion. 2 weeks later, the palace hosted an intimate gathering for several princesses approaching their coming-of-age ceremonies, including me among the invited guests. The banquet took place in the Imperial Garden's warm pavilions, creating a harmonious atmosphere. Mid-celebration, I excused myself to refresh my appearance, walking slowly along the covered corridors on my return. Outside the corridor lay artificial mountains constructed from Taihu stones, creating secluded, rarely visited areas. Passing one rocky opening, a hoarse, weak voice emerged from the shadows. "Vivian." I halted, turning toward the sound. Ethan sat propped against stone behind a boulder, wrapped in thick fur cloaks, face deathly pale, lips bloodless, left arm still immobilized. Though skeletal thin, his eyes burned with desperate intensity, filled with resentment, unwillingness, and barely suppressed pleading. His presence in the imperial palace, waiting here specifically, was remarkable. "Young Master Ethan," I stopped several paces away, tone distant and polite. "Your injuries haven't healed. You shouldn't expose yourself to wind. Please return home for proper recovery." "Recovery," he smiled bitterly, the expression more tragic than tears. "I owe this condition to someone, you know exactly whom." I watched him silently. He gathered his remaining strength like a dying flame, staring intently while demanding word by word. "Who was in that carriage? Was it Prince Adrian?" "What difference whether it was or wasn't," I countered. "So it truly was him." His eyes dimmed before igniting with obsessive fire. "How far has it progressed between you?" "Vivian, don't be foolish. He is a prince, His Majesty's sharpest blade. What genuine affection could he hold for you? He merely seeks your family's support or revenge against the Langstons. What future do you have following him?" Hearing his speculation and warnings, I felt oddly amused. Even now he judged others by his own standards, while maintaining that patronizing, "I know best" attitude. "Young Master Ethan worries excessively," I replied calmly. "My future is my concern, requiring no assistance." "You," he raged, coughing violently, his pale face flushing unnaturally as his chest heaved. After recovering his breath, his voice emerged raspier, filled with despair. "Are you truly this heartless?" 5 years. 5 years. What of those 5 years? I interrupted, my voice clear and steady, echoing among the silent rocks. 5 years of tolerance, 5 years of humiliation, 5 years of watching you cavort while maintaining your dignity. Ethan, those 5 years weren't my debt to you. They were your debt to me. Now we're even. The word even struck him like a physical blow. He swayed, barely maintaining his seat, the last defiant light in his eyes finally extinguishing, leaving only gray desolation. He opened his mouth as if to speak, yet ultimately couldn't produce a single word. I regarded him once more with complete indifference, as one might observe an irrelevant stranger, then turned along the sun-drenched corridor toward distant laughter in the warm pavilions. The shadowed artificial mountains behind me, containing that once familiar figure now reduced to desperation and obsession, along with those painful 5 years, were finally and permanently severed from this world. Several days later, the Langston family matriarch personally visited the Caldwell estate. Mother received her in the front hall while I sat in attendance. Lady Langston appeared guilt-stricken, grasping Mother's hands. "Elder sister, Ethan has been unconscionable, wronging young Vivian. Today I come to apologize on his behalf and our family's behalf." Mother responded graciously, speaking of destiny's end and mutual well-being. Mid-conversation, commotion arose outside. Ethan had forced his way in, supported by 2 servants, face gray, left arm still bound, yet his gaze fixed desperately on me. "Your injuries haven't healed. Why come here?" Return immediately. Lady Langston displayed shock and anger. Ethan ignored her, pushing away his supports to stagger forward, pointing at me while addressing his mother hoarsely. Mother. You are still apologizing. Do you realize your son was calculated against? From beginning to end, Prince Adrian orchestrated everything. He turned toward me, eyes red with madness. Vivian, don't you want to know how you happened to discover that chamber ceremony? I investigated. The maid who led you there wasn't from our household? She was Prince Adrian's planted agent. Lily's access to my poetry gathering required insider information and guidance. Even my subsequent displays of affection for Lily were influenced by his people's manipulation. Prince Adrian. He has had his eye on you all along. He deliberately caused my mistakes to break your heart, positioning himself to exploit the opportunity. His chest heaved violently, voice growing more ragged. A man of such sinister calculations and deep schemes. Do you dare marry him? The hall fell deathly silent. Lady Langston paled. Mother's brow furrowed deeply. I sat there, observing Ethan's manic appearance, feeling surprisingly little emotional disturbance. Indeed, with Prince Adrian's capabilities, achieving desired outcomes would come naturally. This explained many coincidences. At that moment, a calm voice spoke from beyond the hall. Finished speaking. Prince Adrian entered unhurriedly, clad in dark robes and jade belt, expression serene. He briefly surveyed Ethan before settling his gaze on me, nodding slightly, then addressing Ethan directly. This prince indeed knew that maid's background and didn't prevent Lily's approach to you. Perhaps during occasions when you sought to impress her at Vivian's expense, my people offered encouragement. His admission was startlingly frank. However, Prince Adrian continued evenly, you chose to participate in that chamber ceremony. You chose intimate behavior with Lily. Did this prince hold a blade to your throat, forcing those ridiculous actions that wounded her heart? Ethan choked, face reddening. You chose your path, Prince Adrian stated flatly. This prince merely facilitated your choices while allowing her clearer vision. Regarding Vivian's ultimate decision, he looked at me with profound intensity. That was her independent judgment. Your mistakes and regrets are irrelevant to her and certainly don't qualify as grounds for criticizing this prince. After speaking, he ignored Ethan entirely, offering Lady Langston a slight bow. Madam, your son's injuries and emotional distress require immediate attention and rest. Miss Vivian has been startled. This prince takes his leave. He turned, extending his hand toward me. I placed my hand in his palm, departing that suffocating hall together. Outside the hall, Prince Adrian didn't release my hand. We walked silently before stopping at a garden corridor. Frightened. He studied me carefully. I shook my head, not by the scene, but by Ethan's pathetic insistence on blaming others even now. Prince Adrian remained quiet momentarily, before producing a gilt-edged formal invitation from his sleeve. The vermilion characters announced our wedding date, the 8th day of next month, when Prince Adrian would marry Miss Vivian Caldwell. Official seals from the prince's household and imperial clan court marked the bottom. His Majesty's marriage decree has been sealed. I accepted the weighty invitation. We had finally reached this point. Ethan somehow broke free from his servant's support, pursuing us to the corridor. Seeing the invitation in my hands, his pupils contracted violently. He swayed like a man with his soul extracted, gasping. You both. I turned to face him, gently placing the invitation on the stone balustrade. Young Master Ethan. My voice remained clear and steady. Prince Adrian, and my wedding date is set for the 8th day of next month. You are welcome to attend the ceremony." Ethan stared at the invitation before looking at me, his mouth trembling. His eyes completely shattered, leaving only boundless gray despair and desolation. He opened his mouth as if to curse or plead, ultimately producing only a broken animal-like whimper before collapsing entirely. Prince Adrian embraced my shoulders as we turned away, without looking back. "Come," he said. "Let's return to try on your wedding gown." That evening, Prince Adrian remained in my chambers. By candlelight, his features appeared profound and handsome. Tode's accusations were entirely accurate. He spoke directly without concealment. "I knew of your visits to that villa. The maid was my agent. Lily's family sought my favor. I provided opportunity for her to approach Ethan. I was aware of subsequent events and welcomed their development." He met my gaze with complete transparency. "I am no gentleman. I plan and scheme, employing whatever methods necessary. Wanting you, I eliminated obstacles and prepared the path. Do you find this intolerable?" I studied him, recalling the chamber's glaring red decorations. Ethan's dismissive contempt, our family's difficulties over the years, and this man's respect, support, and honest confession in tonight's intimate darkness. "Even without your manipulation," I said slowly. "Given Ethan's character, those events would have occurred eventually, perhaps with different people, different methods. Your scheming simply allowed me earlier clarity, reduced suffering, and provided my family a more secure path." I met his intense gaze. "I chose you not because you are a saint, but because you offered me choice and confidence to continue forward. We seek alliance and a future together, not someone's penitence, and certainly not a marriage requiring constant compromise." Prince Adrian studied me deeply as the last traces of cautious evaluation melted like snow and ice, transforming into profound warmth. He extended his hand, palm upward. "I understand." His low voice carried conviction as he grasped my offered hand. "Our future years won't betray today's choice." With our wedding approaching, the entire capital decorated festively in imperial celebration. One morning brought autumn rain. I was fitting my wedding phoenix crown when Jade stumbled in, voice trembling. "Miss, terrible news. Young Master Ethan is outside our estate on the main street, crawling on his knees toward our gates. He has already covered half the street, striking his forehead against cobblestones. Blood mixed with rainwater covers his face. Crowds are gathering." I approached the window, opening it slightly. Cold wind and rain struck me, carrying distant sounds of commotion. At the street's end, a figure crawled through mud, repeatedly, and slowly prostrating himself. Each time he raised his head, fresh blood was visible. Reem remembered long ago on another rainy day when young Ethan had sworn, "Vivian, should I ever wrong you in this life? May I crawl from east to west across the city, kowtowing to beg your forgiveness." His words seemed childishly amusing then. I never imagined they'd manifest in such degrading circumstances. I closed the window, shutting out wind, rain, and chaos. Ignore him. I returned to my mirror, adjusting my phoenix crown. If he wishes to perform this pathetic drama, let him continue. This is unrelated to the Caldwell household, and even less to Prince Adrian's estate. In the bronze mirror, my phoenix crown and ceremonial robes gleamed magnificently, reflecting my serene, unmoved expression. News of Ethan's street, crawling prostration until blood covered the cobblestones, and he collapsed from exhaustion spread throughout the capital. When Elena reported this with complex emotions, she said, "He truly crawled the entire street. His forehead bloody and mangled. Physicians say excessive blood loss triggered previous injuries and fever. He'll likely be bedridden for months." I continued fitting wedding earrings without pausing. Indeed, his personal servant secretly sent messages to your household multiple times, claiming the young master calls your name deliriously, refusing food and medicine, ignoring all advice. They begged you to send word encouraging him to take his medicine. Elena sighed. He appears quite pitiful. Pitiable people possess detestable qualities. I set down the earrings. His survival concerns the Langston estate and their physicians. What relevance does it have to me? While speaking, reports arrived that Lady Langston had come again. This time she spoke privately with Mother in the flower hall. Upon my arrival, Lady Langston appeared red-eyed, grasping Mother's hands with choking emotion. Elder sister, I truly lack the face to make this request, but Ethan, his current condition leaves him deaf to all counsel. Speaking only of young Vivian, could you allow Vivian to see him once? Perhaps speak a single word to encourage his medicine? I guarantee just one glance, without causing her any distress. Mother gently patted Lady Langston's hand, her tone warm yet firm. Sister, I understand your difficulty, but Vivian is now Prince Adrian's betrothed bride, their marriage blessed by His Majesty, with the entire capital watching. Visiting the Langston estate now would violate propriety and invite gossip, harming both young people. She paused before continuing. In my opinion, young people must resolve their own conflicts. If Ethan's condition stems from Vivian and Prince Adrian, perhaps Prince Adrian should visit to counsel him. They're peers, and both intelligent. They might reach understanding. Lady Langston's face paled at this suggestion, forcing a bitter smile. This wouldn't be appropriate. Should Prince Adrian visit, I fear Ethan might. Sometimes poison requires poison as antidote. Mother's tone remained gentle yet unyielding. Emotional ailments need strong medicine. It is decided. I'll send word to Prince Adrian's household. Sister, please rest assured. Ethan is blessed and will recover. Lady Langston opened her mouth without success, sighed heavily, and departed. Several days later, Prince Adrian indeed visited the Langston estate. I didn't inquire about their conversation, nor did he volunteer. Elena, however, somehow obtained information and rushed to share it. I heard Prince Adrian truly went. Just him and Ethan alone, speaking for considerable time. Elena whispered with curious expression. Servants outside reported hearing Ethan's horse shouting, "Something about you calculated against me, and without you Vivian and I wouldn't have reached this point." How did His Highness respond? Difficult to hear clearly, but apparently just one sentence. Elena considered carefully. Something like your own improper conduct and unstable character. What relevance do others hold? I lowered my gaze, adjusting a new white jade bracelet at my wrist, appreciating its cool touch. What happened afterward? No major disturbances occurred. Later, Prince Adrian departed with normal composure. As for Ethan, I heard that following Prince Adrian's departure, he finally accepted medicine, though he became more withdrawn, sometimes remaining silent entire days. Elena pursed her lips. Well, deserved, I say. Too late for regrets now. I pushed the jade bracelet further up my wrist, feeling its cold touch against my skin. With Ethan seriously injured and bedridden, the Langston estate closed its gates to visitors for days. One morning, however, a figure knelt before their main entrance. Lily had abandoned her usual fine silks for plain, worn garments, hair unadorned, positioned before a small writing desk with paper and ink. Diligently copying text, her posture remained respectful, expression sorrowful, creating a striking contrast against the solemn Langston Estate's red gates. When guards initially approached to dismiss her, she raised tearful eyes, voice fragile. This humble woman acknowledges her lowly status and dares not request entry. I only ask permission to copy scriptures here, praying for the young master's swift recovery. Heaven witnesses my sincerity. I seek nothing else. After prostrating deeply, she resumed copying. As a woman displaying such apparent devotional sincerity, the guards hesitated to forcibly remove her. Fearing public criticism, they reported the situation instead. When news reached the inner courtyards, Lady Langston, exhausted by recent events, simply waved dismissively. Let her kneel if she wishes. Station someone to watch, preventing noise or approaching the gates. Lily's vigil lasted from dawn to dusk. She seemed inexhaustible, replacing completed scrolls with fresh ones. Occasional passers-by would pause and comment, gradually developing private opinions that while this Lynn family woman lacked elevated birth, her dedication to the young master proved admirably sincere, maintaining such devotional prayer during his injury. The scripture copies and reportedly personally researched, carefully prepared medicinal formulas she submitted daily through guards received no acknowledgement, yet she persisted unchanged. After 3 or 4 days of fruitless vigil with the Langston gates remaining firmly closed, Lily finally abandoned restraint, setting her sights on me. She came requesting an audience at the Caldwell estate. Though initially reluctant, considering her dramatic performance at the Langston gates, I ultimately received her in a side hall. In mere days, she had indeed deteriorated noticeably. Dark circles beneath her eyes. Upon seeing me, she immediately knelt, forehead touching the floor. Miss Vivian, I beg your great mercy. Please help this humble woman. Her voice choked with emotion. My devotion to the young master is genuine. Heaven can witness. Now I only seek permission to enter the estate and personally serve his medical needs, to see his improvement with my own eyes. But the Langston household, they won't allow my entry. The young master's current condition responds only to your words. Please speak with him on my behalf. I would gladly serve as an ox or horse to repay your tremendous kindness. I observed her tearful performance without emotional response. Miss Lily, I remained seated, unmoved. Matters between you and young Master Ethan are beyond my authority to judge or influence. Whether he receives you, whether the Langston estate permits your entry, depends on their household rules and the young master's wishes, not my interference. But the young master, his condition is his concern, I interrupted. I am preparing for marriage, focused solely on Prince Adrian's ceremonial arrangements. As for you, if genuinely concerned with prayer, any location suffices. Why insist on the Langston gates? Please depart, I instructed Jade. Escort Miss Lily out. Should she call again, don't announce her. Lily was removed, her departing glance filled with despair and barely concealed malice. Though Vivian rejected Lily's plea firmly, the woman didn't abandon her performance at the Langston gates. She seemed determined to complete this.